For example, look at my schedule. This schedule here, or this diagram here, will summarize in simple terms what used to happen in early audit and what is happening in modern audit, today's audit. In auditing, we say what used to happen in early auditing was 1. The objective was to detect errors and frauds. Objectives was or were to detect and prevent errors and frauds on a timely basis. Errors and frauds on a timely basis. Today, we say the objective is to write a report. Objective is to write a report on the company's financial statement. In early auditing, appointment of an auditor, removal and duties of an auditor were done by the who? By the management. Appointment was by management. Today, a manager cannot appoint an auditor. We have the shareholders. Appointment is conducted by shareholders. That is another particular element. Earlier on, we had said that the auditor's liability was limited to contract. Today, auditor's liability is open. You can be sued for civil and criminal liability. Liability is open to criminal and civil liability. So it doesn't matter whether you are going to be having a contract or not in modern world. You can be sued as an auditor for your own negligence or for personal negligence. We can also go ahead and say auditor's independence was not a requirement. Auditor's independence was not a requirement. Whereas in today's audit, modern audit, we say auditor's independence is a fundamental principle. Auditor's independence is fundamental. That becomes another particular differences. Something else that I had said earlier on is that the report was addressed to the management of the company. The report here is addressed to the shareholders. So you can say report was to management. Report of today is to who? To the shareholders. Report is to shareholders. Earlier on, we had also said that the auditor will do both auditing and accounting. Here, the audit does pure audit. You cannot combine. In modern auditing, is either you are doing auditing or you are doing accounting in different engagements, but you cannot combine them as maybe as one. So we can say could perform both, auditing and accounting. Auditing and accounting. So we have agreed that in the modern audit, we do pure audit. Pure audit. Pure audit means you cannot do what? You cannot combine. You can only do once. So if you go to the features that we had earlier listed concerning the area audit, each and every feature will give you another feature for modern auditing. Where you say that the auditor was appointed by the management, here you say the auditor was appointed by the shareholder. Where you say the duties were defined by the management, here you say the duties are defined by the Companies Act. And that is what we refer to as the differences between area auditing and modern auditing. Maybe to come to a conclusion relating to this fight between area auditing and modern auditing, we need to ask ourselves a simple question. Exactly what may have caused these particular differences between area auditing and modern auditing? That is another question of factors that have led to changes. Factors that have contributed to changes in audit environment. So why are we changing from area auditing to modern auditing? Let me delete this part because that was the main title of the lesson. Factors that have contributed to changes in auditing. One thing that is very obvious is that in area auditing, the companies were very small. Today, the companies have grown in size. And because of that, the work of an auditor has to change. Maybe the auditor does not have to audit everything. Today, he has to audit maybe few transactions. That is called the changes in the size of the company. So the companies of today are multinationals. The companies of yesterday were sole traders or maybe small companies. That has contributed to the change in auditing. Changes and advancement in ICT. Changes and advancement. Advancement in information and communication technology. If you go back 100 years, you'll find that most of the companies never used ICT. Perhaps it was not maybe discovered by then. Even if it was there, but it had not been discovered, but we say most of the company could not be able to use them. Today, most of the companies are using them, and the use of ICT is changing the approach which auditor is going to be using in auditing a company. You have something called the laws and regulations, and we can say the changes in laws and regulations. A good example here is when you talk about the auditor's liability. You say previously the auditor's liability was limited to contract. Today, the auditor's liability is open. You can be sued for criminal, civil under tort, civil under contract. That is because of the laws that have changed over the years. Something else that have changed over the years and that has contributed to the changes in auditing is the changes in the number of companies. So if you compare the companies of today and the companies of maybe yesteryear, or look at the population upsurge. You compare maybe perhaps a country like Kenya or East Africa 20 years ago. Maybe the population was not more than maybe 150 million. Today the population in each and every country maybe is about over 40 million. And so we are so many of us. Because of that, again, we can also talk about persons in terms of companies. Companies maybe 60 years ago or 50 years ago are very few. Today they are very, very many. And that has contributed to the changes in auditing because we have to fulfill or to satisfy all those companies at the end of the year. Those are 4 points, but we can add maybe more points. Point number 5, we can say there has had changes in accounting and auditing standards. Auditing standards. Every time we introduce a new accounting standard, we give an auditor a new responsibility to check compliance. Every time we introduce a new auditing standards, we give an auditor a responsibility to go ahead and check to be guided by that particular standard. This one is a guideline to the auditor to change his audit approach. This one is a responsibility to check whether the financial statements have been prepared in accordance with the new accounting standard. The other point that we can talk about here, number 6, is something we call globalization. In most cases, we say the integration of companies and what we refer to as maybe the mergers and growth of companies and companies operating beyond their original countries or maybe their home country has introduced so many differences and so many changes that require the changes of the audit. So even the globalization, the integration of the companies, as well as maybe companies operating in different countries. For example, you check a company like Barclays, 100 years ago, maybe it was operating in London alone. Today is operating all over the world. And so that we can be able to satisfy maybe the users' maybe requirements, we need to go ahead maybe and ensure we change the audit approach. Then there is something we refer here as changes in corporate governance. corporate governance. The change in corporate governance means we are changing the manner in which we run a company, the manner in which we run the company. Previously, the manager was also the owner of the company. Today, we have separation. We have what we refer to as separation of ownership and control. The person who is managing the company today is different from the person who is owning the shares in that company. For that reason, now, today we have to report to the shareholders and not to the management that we are going to be investigating. That has also contributed to the changes in auditing, that is the changes in how we manage the companies of today.